Hello and welcome. I am Ladi Akeredoluwale. Tonight, Acting President Yemi Osinbajo reads the Riot Act to banks and financial institutions who engage in illicit financial flows, says they must face the consequences. House of Representatives holds public hearing on alleged theft of 17 billion naira crude oil and gas resources from the country. Bakassi community leader raises alarm over diversion of relief materials meant for IDPs rendered homeless by fire. And several Arab states led by Saudi Arabia sever ties with Qatar over support for terrorism.
And in business news tonight, National Bureau of Statistics reports an unemployment rate of 14.2% for the fourth quarter of 2016.
On sports news tonight, Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire midfielder Sheikh Tiote dies in China after collapsing during training with his club, Beijing Enterprises.
And from Abuja, a magistrate court grants bail to whistleblower who is facing trial for allegedly giving false information on Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu.
Tonight we begin from Abuja, where the acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, says banks and financial institutions who engage in illicit financial flows must be held accountable and criminalized. Speaking at the conference on promoting international cooperation in combating illicit financial flows, as well as enhancing asset recovery in Abuja, the acting president says such institutions must be made to face the consequences. He noted that there is a media war between people fighting corruption and those behind the stolen funds, which needs to be addressed if the nation is to make any progress. Our correspondent, Gloria Ume Ezeoke, reports.
This is one conference on illicit financial flow the acting president is hoping would change the status quo. Against a backdrop of massive looting of public treasury and persistent illicit financial flows, the acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, issued what might be called a warning to banks and financial institutions.
When somebody loots the resources of a country and deprives millions of people of the means by which they would even make a decent existence, that is even more criminal. This cannot happen without a handshake, if you like, between the countries where they are transferred and the institutions and countries to which they are transferred, especially the financial institutions. So we must work at somehow delegitimizing those kinds of transactions and criminalizing them so that banks and financial institutions that are engaged in this are actually called out and they are made to face the consequences of engaging in criminal conduct. If that isn't done, then we're not likely to get very far.
As the acting president points out a media war raging between the government and those behind the stolen funds, the chairman, Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, says the huge looting has been responsible for Nigeria's dwindling development.
We are experiencing in Nigeria a situation where corruption fights back and fights back so persuasively, so eloquently sometimes, and with such resources that government itself, if government is not careful, it can be overwhelmed. There's a media war against the fight against corruption. You will find people who will put stories in the media that suggest that there is something wrong with fighting corruption.
Nigeria has the largest number of uncompleted projects in this world. Many people just take the money and walk away in collusion with the ministry or agency that awarded the contract.
Other stakeholders announced that the continent is losing about $80 billion annually to illicit financial flow.
Our continent is losing anywhere from $50 to $80 billion annually in financial flows. More effort is needed in asset recovery and repatriation. weak national and regional capacities impede efforts to curb illicit financial flows.
Well, many of the findings and recommendations here apparently underpins the fact that combating illicit financial flows must not only be transparent, but strengthened on the global front. Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Staying with that theme, the House of Representatives has commenced the second phase of its investigation into the allegations that over $17 billion undeclared crude oil and liquefied natural gas exports was remitted into government coffers. At the resumed hearing, lawmakers had an intense session with representatives of the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, as well as the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. Our correspondent, Lanre Lasisi, has the report.
Systems Department, It's the resumed hearing of the House of Representatives ad hoc committee on probing the alleged stealing of $17 billion of undeclared crude oil and liquefied natural gas.
I want to know, sir, if you are very familiar with the...
Lawmakers are, however, not pleased with the response from government agencies so far.
We are talking about $17 billion. Our investigation has even revealed it's more than that. And people have been given position in trust. And they are expected to come and give accounts. These are just allegations. All we need from people is clarification. Unfortunately, people have refused to come. And you can see now, up to now, people are being represented. Now, we have also written several letters, and we tell people, they will tell us that we will bring the document tomorrow, only for you to find out that these documents will come 2 months after.
The lawmakers continue with the hearing. An official of the Central Bank of Nigeria is the first to face the committee.
We want you to explain the circumstances under which crude oil revenue can be credited to petroleum profit tax account. Just the circumstance, please.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Because funds transfer is subject to mistakes like every other task. Taxpayer or the remitting banks could make a mistake in the narration, and funds could stray into a different account. That is the essence of reconciliation with agencies. The official is expected to return on a later date with more documents. The lawmakers then sought some clarifications from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
From your presentation now, you practically rely on whatever NNPC gives you. Is this not giving Federal Inland Revenue a concern as to collusion and some things and under value or under declaration of what is coming to this country?
Sir, as far as we are concerned today, NNPC is the agency that the Constitution of the country or the law has placed that responsibility upon. So also the DPR.
The committee has directed the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation to submit more documents, even as the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative sought to make a reviewed submission. The investigative hearing is to continue on Tuesday. Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
A community leader in the Bakassi Peninsula has raised alarm over the alleged diversion of relief materials meant for the displaced people whose settlements were gutted by fire. A former legislator, Senator Florence Itagiwa, says a whistleblower informed her of the diversions to private homes. She told journalists in Calabar, the Cross River State capital, that some of the items, especially building materials, are being sold at the timber market.
These relief items, comprising foodstuff, building materials, clothing and other things, are meant for the distribution among displaced Bakassi indigents in Cross River State, whose holding centers were gutted by fire several months ago. Weeks have passed since the ceremonial handover of the items by the Cross River State Deputy Governor.
For those who were affected by the fire incident at Abana, Antayama to commence rebuilding their houses, their homes, and in the interim, because they have been again further displaced from where they were, to use the food items that have been given for them to at least survive.
The word on the street is that more than a month after the items were handed over, no distribution has taken place. Even worse, the government aid was found in a residence allegedly belonging to a politician. The owner was not at home when the police stormed the premises in company of Bakassi leader Senator Florence Itagiwa, who identified the materials to be the same ones meant for the IDPs.
Those people are suffering in this rain.
It's an emotional moment for the Bakassi indigents, as their distraught leader narrates how she got to know about the diversion.
And they are seated with no referendum, with nothing at all, and they gag us. These people are my people. At 71, I'm supposed to retire from this. But if I retire, they'll drive this people out of Nigeria. They'll be stateless. So I will not retire. I'll fight it till I die.
She blames the State Emergency Management Agency for not delivering the items directly to the people.
Someone should be in a state of preparedness to move the thing immediately straight to the people. How do you call local government to hand over the things to? He has to explain to Nigeria.
But the DG SEMA, Mr. Austin Inaku, insists he did the right thing by handing over the materials to the head of the local government administration.
Since there were factions about who to take materials there, the best person I should give to is the head of security in that council, and that's the whole guy. And that was exactly what I did. And I did that with specific instruction that this thing gets there.
For now, the IDPs wait for the issues to be sorted out by the relevant authorities, praying to make it through the excessive rains and hunger that have now set in.
4 years into the special health and nutrition program for children in the internally displaced camps in Borno State, the World Health Organization has commended the federal government for the progress recorded so far. The WHO country representative, Mr. Wondi Alehu, describes the special intervention as life-saving for millions of children who would have otherwise died from malnutrition.
The Ministry of Health had in February this year sent an emergency response team to Borno State in collaboration with the state government and other development partners to intervene in the nutrition crisis that rocked the internally displaced persons camps in the state. About 4 months on, the Minister of Health and representatives of the World Health Organization are back in Maiduguri, the state capital, to assess the impact of the intervention. After a tour of some of the medical facilities handling the intervention and a visit to some IDP camps in the state, the WHO country representative expresses satisfaction with the level of implementation.
And this is a midterm review. What I observed is that the work is going on well, as expressed by the Honorable Minister of Health. So that's what I witnessed. Over and above, also, partners are also about 21 partner agencies coordinated by the states are also providing integrated services.
On his part, the Minister of Health speaks on how important the intervention is to the federal government.
As you know, nutritional problem is a major issue, and we want to make sure that people are well fed. When you are well fed, we jokingly among ourselves say that we are also investing in cerebral architecture.
He also gives reasons why the program needs to be extended.
The drugs that we brought to Borno will last there for 2 years, and we are quite confident that extending it will not be as expensive. We will not have to buy new ambulances, new delivery trucks, we will not buy new drugs. What we need is to keep the personnel human resources going.
The Northeast Health and Nutrition Emergency Response is targeted at caring for the medical and nutritional needs of the IDPs, especially the young children who are at the risk of dying from malnutrition.
Staying with the issues of the northeast of Nigeria, the Air Force is considering dialogue as a new strategy to fight Boko Haram insurgency, which has been terrorizing that region. Air Force Chief of Policy and Plans, Air Vice Marshal James Boom, says military options will also be considered alongside dialogue for repentant militants. Marshal Boom spoke in Abuja while receiving food items donated by a private company for internally displaced persons. In part 2 after the break, we focus on the World Environment Day, dwelling on how environmental challenges influence the day's theme, connecting people to nature. Do stay with us.